All right, so we're going to go ahead and get started with our questions and answer session, although I know most of our questions actually got answered during the last meeting. So yeah, which that was super helpful. But want to, out of formality of the process and making sure that we follow how everything is lined up, want to pause and give some space for questions. Blake and I have two. But we're gonna wait and see if there's any other questions first. Here comes the awkward silence.
Okay, you can go.
Sorry, go ahead.
So I was wondering, so I know like that the computers and the software tends to get older, and I didn't see or if there is a part where you guys are planning on updating the software and just the computers, because tends to get older and used a lot more.
Yeah, we're discussing that right now. How to do that. There's a whole bunch of technology in the building that we don't think is appropriate to use this money for at all. The surcharge and the career development fee. But we're exploring, how we can be responsive to updating things right now. But we haven't totally figured that out. But we've been working on an endowment to help with that. So it's alumni provide donations, and it goes into an endowment. We have a commitment of $1 million right now, but it's based upon someone dying. So, we like this guy. We don't want him to die. But it's in his estate to go to the College of Business and into a sustainability fund. And there's a little bit of additional money in cash that we already have in that fund, but probably less than 300,000 total, in addition to $1 million that's going to come at some point. The bill, again, this is off topic, so I don't know how far you want to go into this, but this is, we've got like $5 to $6 million of technology in the building when it was built, and the lifespan of most of that stuff is about 5 years. The refresh period is about 5 years, so it's an issue we're going to have to deal with.
And the business building is considered a smart building, right? Isn't that like the term that's coined for it, like with all the lights and the thermostats and all that stuff?
There is some smartness to it, that's for sure. So the building, like the doors lock at a certain on a schedule.
Yeah.
You don't have to manually do it. The outside doors, the lights dim at a certain time to save energy. They're all LED lights anyway, but they do dim. Have you ever driven by it at night? It looks like it's lit up like a birthday cake.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really bright. And a lot of that is because, and the reason it doesn't go totally dark is that the building is accessible to faculty 24 hours a day. And so all of those areas that you see lit up are mostly through the windows of staircases and in the atrium. And those are areas of egress when to leave the building. And so, if someone was working late at night and the building caught on fire and they had to get out, we need light for that. So that's why it never goes totally dark, but they do dim a bit at some point in the evenings.
I love those exterior lights on the outside of the building. They look so nice.
Yeah, the lights. Yeah, those are really cool.
Max, did you have a question?
Yeah. So my apologies if it is in this great spreadsheet already, but I just had a question about what the account balances were at, like they carry forward, like if there's a reserve kind of sitting in there year to year. It shows like basically the annual revenue and expenses for the two different parts of the fee. But do you have a significant size of,
I didn't bring that with me. You know those numbers off the top of your head? They are significant, like over $1 million significant. The way that comes about is if you think about how the fee works or all fees really work, is that they're approved by the Board of Regents in July, or June, and then they go into effect that next academic year. Most of ours were for hiring. And so the way the academic cycle works is you go on the market in the fall semester. And if you're trying to hire it doesn't matter if it's always new, but usually trying to hire someone out of school, a new PhD student or graduate, or even if it's someone working in another institution, they're not likely to come on board and work for you until the following August. Sometimes we're able to bring them on mid-year, but it's usually at the semesters. And so we build up some balance there, which we use as you said, a reserve to offset other costs or shortfalls that we might have.
Right.
And also, so also the year to year is also fluctuations in expenses. And we don't want to be in a situation where, suddenly there's decrease in revenues, but all of these monies are allocated for faculty and staff salaries, or a lot of the monies allocated for faculty and staff salaries. We need to make sure that we're able to pay our faculty and staff.
I'm sure they appreciate that.
Yeah, exactly, right?
Is there a mechanism for if a certain point is reached in those kind of like backup reserves that you can draw on that to fund special projects, or is that really just there? Does it continue to build up, or I guess what's the equilibrium on that? Is it
I
continuing
don't
to
think
build
we've
up?
gotten to that point yet, but if we were, I think we'd have to think about it. I would be, cognizant of the original purpose of the fee, and so I don't think we'd use it for extending the building or something that's off. It's still maybe a good cause, but not associated with the purpose of the fee. But I don't think we've hit that spot yet.
Yeah, if you look, I think 2 years ago, it was like there was a big negative higher expenses. So this past year was we had a build up that was due to not being able to hire because of the hiring freeze. People quit and just didn't spend the money because we couldn't hire this past year. But we're hiring now to backfill those positions. Cool.
Thank you.
Sure.
Any other questions in the room? We're on Zoom. Okay, not seeing any. So the two that Blake and I put forward were, so looking at the revenue and expenses back on that spreadsheet. We just wanted to know the main factors that led to a reduction of $90,000 in departmental operating expenses, if those were COVID related, and it sounds largely like they were.
Right. So I don't know if you got the email I sent earlier today, not too long ago, but I had a couple of responses in there. So you're right. The reduction there was because of lower operating expenses. Most of those are professional development and travel types of expenses for faculty, and we weren't doing that as much those years, and so we didn't spend money on those categories.
Then that second one, the $650 decline, or $650,000.
Yeah,
that sounds a little bit more.
Just a few zeros.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For salaries and benefits. Yeah, and just from like reading this, it just seemed like that assigning that revenue source was a little bit different.
Right. So that goes back to what Ainsley was saying, where we had a university hiring freeze, and we did have some people leave the university that were funded on that source. We didn't fill those positions right away, so the expenditure was less. We also had a projection that what we were going to bring in was going to be about $200,000 less than what it ended up being, what it was the prior year, based on credit hours. And so we budgeted less salary on that source and put it onto another source as a result. And so that's where you see the $650,000 discrepancy. Kind of those are the two main factors that led to that.
I don't think we have any others, unless the committee has any others. We should be good to go. But thank you again for stopping in and for taking time.
Yeah,
Thank you very much. I
Happy to do
appreciate it.
Looks like you guys are incentivized to figure this out today, so you don't have to meet again. So we'll leave you to your deliberations. That's what you like us to do, right? Yeah. Okay. Perfect.
Appreciate
it.
That's what I figured. I just want to make sure.
Yes, thank you all.
So,
Thank you
all
all
right.
again.
Thank you for the info. Alrighty, so with that, wanted to first, before diving into like any type of decision-making practices, wanted to take like a quick little subjective, well, not really subjective, just general straw poll as far as our ability to make a decision by the end of this meeting. So just to gauge how everyone's feeling, on a scale of thumbs up, meaning, yeah, I can totally make a decision right now. Thumbs medium of like, okay, this might take a little bit of time, a little deliberation, we might hold off, and thumbs down of absolutely not. We should definitely wait for next meeting. How are we feeling on making a decision tonight? Cool. Okay, great. That's exactly what I was expecting. So just want to start off first with discussion, and out of just the nature of trying to ensure that everyone's voice is heard, and we've got some time budgeted in. I think we had a really fantastic presentation, and they did a great job of outlining everything. Want to go around the room and really take a moment for everyone to share their thoughts as far as usage of the fee, how that compared with the original intent of the fee, any things that stuck out to each of you. Yeah, so I want to open the floor up, and also preface that looking to have everyone share and debate, or not really debate, just discuss their takeaways. So anyone wants to step up as the first person? Be my guest.
There's a lot of thumbs up. Somebody has something to say.
I can go ahead and start just a little bit. I don't know, still kind of going through notes and everything. We'll see if any other ideas pop through my head later on. But yeah, obviously from the presentation and kind of like I said last week, extremely impressed, like very, very cool stuff that's happening. And obviously the presentation was perfectly outlined. They did a really good job hitting all of the points kind of concern for the structure for TFSC. So it strikes me how the off balance $65 per student for the faculty surcharge versus $834 for the career development, that's naturally understandable. Like I know why those numbers are the way they are, but it's interesting juxtaposing that versus the student experience and value from, I'm not in the College of Business, so this is all secondhand from my friends who are in the College of Business, but they definitely see and recognize and feel the value of those other student programs much more. It's much harder for the value of $65 per credit hour for a faculty surcharge. I feel like students are always hesitant of like a faculty surcharge. Like, what do you mean? Like, what do you mean a faculty surcharge? That's what tuition's for. So I hear that a lot from students. And so that's just an observation of mine, nothing particularly, urgent to add to the discussion, but it's very cool that they're able to do such cool services with the career development, knowing that they have a huge endowment that makes that possible. Also kind of makes sense for that. But yeah, those are just kind of my observations and takes for now to get us started.
Thank you, Max.
For the presentation, I really did just admire how they had it all well put together, like they were saying. And the thing that I'm just like really interested, kind of curious about is when do we plan on kind of refurbishing the technology and all that stuff, just because it tends to get a little bit slower. And the software tends to just get a little bit more, I guess, busier throughout the years. But that's something that I'm just curious about. Overall, though, I'm just pretty the presentation was great.
Yeah.
Is the software like Microsoft Office, or what software are you?
Like the MacBooks, like just like the software is like in all the I don't want to say like the servers. I know those tend to I know they need to be like every couple years, like computers start to get slower and they need to be kind of just buy new ones, or to I don't want to say refurbish, just get newer technology. Because I don't know if you guys know, like the iPhones every couple iPhones, so you start to get slower because you use them a lot more. They are just. I'm trying to figure out the word for.
You want to have a replacement schedule.
Yes, replacement schedule, yes.
They start to become obsolete.
To have the best technology for us as students to use in whatever for classes. Because I know I don't want to have a really slow computer when I'm trying to turn in an assignment at 11:59. I don't want to. It takes 30 minutes just to submit an assignment. Like that's something that I know us as students don't want.
Is that something that the College of Business provides for students?
Like in terms of like computers and like just like I know they provide like the printing areas and all that stuff, and I know they have like in the study rooms they have TVs as well to do presentations.
Did you go to the DSAC meeting last night?
The DSAC?
Dean Student Advisory Council meeting? Anyone in the College of Business? I was invited to go. I was at UF unfortunately, but not unfortunately, it was a great time, but the DSAC meeting wanted to meet last night. I don't know if this is jumping the gun, but they wanted to hear from Dean Gwinner as he looked to formulate a proposal to come to SCTE, not SCTE, TFSC, sorry, for a technology enhancement fee. Maybe he's a crony.
Like, and going back to like what Peter's like, I know like in the MIS, I know they use the software as well because they kind of they have a whole entire section in the business building that just has all that software, and that tends to need to be updated quite frequently.
I think one clarifying point is the appropriation of those fees, the fees that we've reviewed were set aside specifically for that faculty aspect of like hiring more faculty to reduce the student to faculty ratio, and then the second one of career development. So I get that technology could fit in there, but I also I don't think they had any expenditures on technology on there. So yeah, I think that conversation is going to be really vital moving forward, but potentially not entirely germane to the current fee structure, since none of that money is used for technology. So at least that's my interpretation.
Yeah, for sure.
And it sounds like an outside sources to be able to spend money on technology with. And so if they don't need to spend this money for specifically technology, then I would agree with them that they don't need to then. That it can be used for other services that enhance the experience and the success, which it sounds like a lot of what they do is for student success. The goal of getting people hired post-graduation, having a hireable experience with as far as like applying and so on, being ready to get into the workforce, which you can learn it in a classroom. And I do think it goes a long way in long-term success to be able to get students ready for a job in business.
Yeah, that's a good point, Laura. And Alex, again, I don't want to like just take your question and dismiss it because I think it still is a really good one. Yeah, and I think that like considering what Cameron just mentioned, that conversation is likely going to be coming up a lot in the spring as we gear up for any proposals that might get past the provost. So, any thoughts? Adrian, any thoughts?
Yeah, well, for my lack of time of reviewing it, I think that it looks like they're really committed to growth, and I see a lot of great things in it. So, I have to say.
Awesome, thank you.
It's well put together. I mean, they know what the money's doing, what it's used for, and what it's supposed to be used for is what it's going towards. So
awesome, thanks, Jacob. And
I thought it was a really well put together presentation. Any of the questions I had were already asked, and Dean Winter did an excellent job of answering them. I feel like I have I have a pretty good understanding of how this moves through, and it seems like everything's going towards what it says it should be, like Jacob said. That's really all I took away from it. Seems pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
Awesome. And Jaren, thoughts from you?
I think they did a good job. You can definitely tell their business and finance just from the aspect of money and knowing where everything goes. I'm kind of interested to see how this is versus our next fee proposal review. And you can definitely tell that they're student oriented by having the career center or whatever right in front of the business building right there, where students can literally go in there and get whatever help they need. I think that shows that they're student driven and student focused. So
Yeah, for sure.
Awesome.
Can I ask a question? For some reason, I thought in their presentation, they said that it was a $45 fee for crediting it, but it's $65?
Yes.
I don't quite understand the distinction.
So the $20 was an original fee before TFSC even existed. So it superseded any.
Oh, so they don't grandfather that into what they've got going on now?
Yeah, they basically say, well, it was approved beforehand, so we don't need to review it with this body. So that's at least
Interesting.
the interpretation that I got, Max.
That's definitely their interpretation. My question is whether that is the case.
With the limited lack of resources that we have.
Oh, yeah. That's why
That's where what I don't exactly know. And I also don't know, is that something that we would be able to decide, or is that also something that maybe someone else might be able to? Like, is that even tribunal related?
No, was that the case where there was the $20 fee beforehand?
Yeah, and then there was agreement to raise it, I think, over a 3-year period.
That was that 15-year staggered increase.
Yeah, that brought it up.
Okay.
I mean, in reality, you're just sort of endorsing the overall fee at this point, right? I mean, that's kind of what this group is doing and looking at, and it fits with the overall intent. So while I don't know that it's worth kind of going back and trying to pick it all apart. Ultimately, you guys are sounds like you're supportive of, I don't want to speak for you. It sounds like you're supportive of how they're using it. And it's all part of that $65 is what it's at today.
Because I just didn't know why I saw 45, but everyone says 65.
It was
so I'm like, what are
originally
you
45 and then it was, they went through a process. Engineering did something similar too, where they had a multi-year change to their faculty surcharge.
John, any thoughts from you?
I would just sum it up with it really looks like they accomplished what they set out to do. And I would add on that I agree that the presentation was incredibly well laid out. And yeah, there was a lot of good intention there, and it was obvious through the way that they presented it.
Good deal. And Carson, are you still on?
Yeah. I'd just like to echo what everyone else said. It seemed like things were really well laid out and they knew what they were talking about and where it was going.
Excellent, good stuff. Sure. All right, well, if there's no other discussion or debate, I really don't think that there will be at this point. So I'm going to give a 5-second pause in case there is. And seeing none, we'll go ahead and move forward. I don't think we need like an actual motion on this.
So at least what we did in the past is a motion to approve or like reject the fee proposal. And then just requires a second. At that point, we'd then move into a roll call vote on that motion.
Alrighty, cool. So seeking a motion from the floor to approve College of Business fees.
A motion to approve fees.
Awesome, thank you. Is there a second?
A motion a second.
Great. Cameron, whenever you're ready, fire away.
Oh, I'm gonna take a second. Okay. I'm just gonna go down the list. Michael did vote.
Yeah, so the voting members will be So like Michael and I both vote. Unfortunately, Cameron, you don't vote. Max doesn't vote. And then our wonderful faculty members at the end do not vote either.
We're here for moral support.
Yeah.
Because you're the best.
Yes. I believe
Thanks
so.
for showing up.
Michael Dowd,
Yes.
Blake Phillips,
Yes.
Bryce Atchison, Carson Shear.
Do we have to have like a certain
Yes.
number of people in the committee agree, or does it matter that you have a lot of empty seats?
There's only one person gone today, but it's
Oh,
just
okay.
a
It
just a
feels
majority.
empty.
Yeah, it's okay.
Adrian McFarland,
Sorry.
Alexander DePatt,
Form.
Jacob Hoffman,
Yay.
Ben Keller,
Yes.
Sharon Holland,
Yes.
John Martin,
Yes.
Laura Bain.
Yes.
By a count of 10 to 0, this is approved.
Yay, first review done, everyone.
Okay, so that wasn't as scary as I think any of us were expecting. With that being said, unless there's any pressing matters, which I can't think of any, we will go ahead and not have next week's meeting. And so go ahead and take that off calendars, enjoy your Tuesday, do all that. And then 2 weeks from now, we will convene with the presentation with arts and sciences.
Yeah.
Oh, what happened next week?
Yeah, so next week, since we've already done our voting, we are, everyone gets the week off,
So we
so,
usually reserve 3 weeks for each.
yeah.
Oh.
We like to build that in, so if there's, lots of questions, both meetings can be used for then, and we want to make sure that if we vote within 2 meetings, that like everyone's comfortable with it, so if that
Yeah.
isn't the case, give that extra time and such.
No, that makes sense. It just didn't stick in my brain that way. Thank you.
Yeah, no, it's totally good. One thing that I have for the committee really quick. So obviously with the yes vote and the discussion today, I know that we were all big fans of the presentation. When Michael and I, or like the chairs at the beginning of the year, solicit like proposals, or not proposals, like basically reach out to the deans for presentations. There's no example presentation. If it's okay with you all, do you all like this structure as far as a presentation goes? And do you think it's helpful? I'm seeing lots of nods. Yes, awesome. So
Did they send us their presentation too, or did he send it to us? I just didn't find it, but I also didn't search very hard.
ooh, I know that he sent it to Michael and I, and I
don't think we shared that. So
How
if you
dare
did find it, I
y'all.
might be concerned.
Sorry about that.
Just kidding. It'd just be great if they like send it to us and then it would make.
Yeah, for sure.
Scrutinizing go a little in depth.
I think the quicker you could send that to like arts and sciences, if you're wanting them to have it for the next round, the better. So they have time to, I know they've been working on stuff. And now I feel kind of bad because I told Fran it was all due next Tuesday. So she's been kind of.
She'll be so happy.
Yeah.
Next week.
I know.
You just like take some of the main points, you still use
You're
it.
gonna
as
make her
a template.
day.
Yeah, it's what we need.
Yeah, because Max, go ahead.
Also, I don't know how much prep is on their end for like the actual like spreadsheet prep too, but businesses spreadsheet was super helpful. I liked that, except with the one addition of, at least in my opinion, I've been finding like the 3-year prior fiscal year information is not as useful as it might normally be because COVID makes that kind of hard to draw patterns from. So I'm finding like the past 5 fiscal years, if they have that information, I find that much more valuable to try and find averages and trends out of.
So we've been working hard to work with, my office has been working hard with arts and science. I'm just speaking for arts and sciences right now. So we've been trying to, it's been taking quite a bit just to get to the 3 years.
Yeah, okay.
So if that's okay, and we're almost there.
Cool. Yeah.
Because I thought it was due next week. So if it's okay, if we could just stick with 3, I think that'd be helpful because my team's been working pretty hard with their team as well. So
yeah,
just to be consistent.
And just to follow up, I did check, shared the business presentation with Dean Chakrabarty and Chris Culbertson on Friday.
So you did share it. Okay.
They should have
Yeah.
that as to it. So.
And so we'll start doing.
That's a high bar
Yeah.
to go right after business.
Yeah. Yeah, and so we'll start doing that moving forward, or our predecessors will next year. We'll try to get that transition smoothed a little bit so that deans know what to expect and what a committee wants in terms of a presentation. So yeah, thank you all very much for that.
Also a little update just for follow-up. We are starting to have more conversations. Max, I'm looking at you because you're the one that asked the question of where does this live? So gonna keep having more conversations with the provost and also Tanya Gonzalez as we try and figure out, okay, what's the best way to institutionalize this process that has already been happening? So I wanted to give an update on that. And then also, Laura, I was going to bring up the conversation about graduate student fees.
Oh, yeah.
And the lack of a similar.
I mean, that's on grad school.
body.
That's not.
Well, yeah. But Ping Ping will be there, so I just figured.
Oh, good.
A great conversation just to jump into. So.
Yeah. That'd be great.
Cool. Well, unless anyone has anything else, I consider us adjourned. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, everyone.
See y'all.
Bye.
Thanks for joining.
Hey, that one?
Thanks.
Well, it's the, this is what I call, I'm glad it wasn't worse than this.